Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the CEO, president, founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also the CEO and founder of a little company called Findo, which turned into Eva, which was sold to Vizier in Canada, acquired by Vizier in Canada. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. With that, I have an incredible guest today. So a good friend of mine, Ruchi Dana, who's a Stanford MBA, medical doctor. She's a multi-award-winning doctor, thought leader, innovator, and entrepreneur. She's a frequent keynote speaker, panelist, and moderator at various industry conferences and events, and sits on several corporate boards, startups, and NGO boards. As a board member of Dana, Dr. Ruchi Dana is responsible for the company's strategy throughout the GCC and Arab world. She's also worked with Golden Seeds, a women-based focused angel network in New York City, and also New Silk Root Growth Capital PE firm. So a couple of tidbits here. While still in her early 30s, Ruchi is a serial entrepreneur and has co-founded 3 businesses: Jugad, a on-demand last-mile logistics company in the UAE; Pick a Venture, a crowdfunding accelerator based in Southeast Asia; and One Big Family, an app for the elderly. She's been recognized by Forbes Middle East as a next-generation business leader, for the Arab world, for 3 consecutive years. So with that, I'd like to bring my good friend Ruchi. Hi, Ruchi. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gary. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey, what's the weather like over in the Middle East right now? And you're in Dubai, right?
I'm in Dubai. It's very, very hot right now. It's peak of summer right now. Yeah.
Can you go outside, Ruchi, when it's that hot?
It's really difficult. You can, but I think luckily we have air conditions overall, and there are a lot of malls and all. So that's the main culture here in the city. So we're just passing time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't go outside. I was in Austin recently, and it was so hot in Austin you couldn't walk outside. I have never felt temperatures that were that hot and also not humid. And I went outside. I said, "This is crazy. It was so hot. The swimming pool at the hotel was so hot it felt like bath water. It felt like you were in one of those hot tubs."
Wow.
It's crazy. So, tell me a little bit about it. Your journey. You got a unique journey. You're a medical doctor. You've gone down through and spent time at MIT Sloan. But what really drives you? How did you went to Stanford for your MBA? I think in 2011, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So what drives you? And also, when you went to Stanford, and there's magic at Stanford University because of all the technologists there, the heart of Silicon Valley. So the next question is, as part of that, how does that differ from places like Dubai, right, which are trying to come online to be innovators? But, when you get away from Stanford and the magic, it's just one of those special places. So how do they do it? And the third thing is, how do those companies that are in the Middle East actually raise funding? Because the valuations sometimes aren't as high, and the access to experts is not nearly what it would be as walking down University in Palo Alto, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I think the culture at Stanford was completely different than what we see here in the Middle East. The Middle East is trying to get there, and I think over the last 10 years, I've seen a lot of improvement in the entire ecosystem in the Middle East, especially in like places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, even Saudi is getting there. But in terms of Stanford, I think it was like a matching of intellect and funds. So there was intellectual capital as well as like capital for venture capital. Here in the Middle East, it's mainly like there is a lot of funding, but there are not enough talented people that live here in nearby. But I can see that a few VC firms are moving to the Middle East, to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and a few startups are coming along with them. So I think the culture will improve here in the Middle East. The universities are also trying their best. In fact, I'm on the I'm the chair of the core committee here at American University Dubai's incubator, and we're trying really hard to get more and more startups into the incubator and try to make them accessible for family offices, VCs, and over the years we're seeing there's a lot more capital available for this asset class of like startups and venture capital. Earlier on, the investments in this region was mainly into real estate and like private equity, but a lot more awareness is coming into startups and venture capital and Series A engines.
It's interesting because one of the companies that we're working for, in fact, we're doing Simplenight Presents. One of the companies has found an incredible amount of interest in the Middle East. I mean, money like you can't imagine, right? They're looking for AI deals, and yet they can't find as many as they want. It's hard for them to find them because of being away. So how do you bridge that gap between the capital, right? And sometimes, there's smart capital and then medium smart capital. How do you bridge the gap as wanting to teach them what to look for, and secondly, how to find those companies that are those high growth companies?
Exactly. I think that's a constant challenge that people face here, especially in family offices, because even the teams here in family offices are not like that big. They're very lean teams. And the companies that come to the Middle East for funding are usually the companies who haven't been able to raise capital in the Valley. So like those kind of deals would not be very attractive. So I think the best way for going forward would be for people from the Middle East to go to the Valley, and like events like this, I'm sure like awareness sessions like these to understand like what is exactly going on in the Valley and in other parts of the world, because like the kind of companies that come to the Middle East just for fundraising purposes are usually like companies that haven't been successful in raising funds in the Valley, and then it becomes like it's a vicious circle. Like once you invest into those companies, you don't get the returns, and you kind of try to stray away from venture capital or startups.
Well, I mean, that's it, right? I mean, I see it a lot. I mean, one of the reasons we created GSD is exactly that. Now we have 160 companies in our portfolio that are AI companies worldwide. One of our companies that came into GSD, they were coming in for, they were raising 10 million. They actually got oversubscribed in the last month and a half to 21 million. So we see, but again, you get some of the best companies in the world. It's kind of like going fishing, isn't it, Ruchi? You go where the fish are. And sometimes we forget. And by the way, the fish may not be in Palo Alto. The fish may be worldwide, but they come to Palo Alto because they're all kind of migrating there, right? Ones that are smart are looking for the opportunities, right? They come to Palo Alto sometimes for the weather too, because the weather can be a little bit nicer than some places, but they come for the experience where you have this incredible system that can help you, right? Network contacts, operational expertise, access to capital. If you look at it today, how much different is it in the Middle East compared to 3 years ago, from your perspective? How does it
I think a lot has changed, especially since COVID came. Like overall, Middle East kind of handled it very well. So a lot of companies and even founders moved to Dubai, to the Middle East, because like the kind of facilities that they found here were unable. They were unable to find those facilities in places like India or even the UK. So there was a lot of migration, and these are talented people who for sure will build like much better companies here, and the entire ecosystem in the Middle East is booming because of that. Because these are, a lot of them are like angel investors, family offices. A lot of them have moved to Dubai and put like it's like just putting up their family offices or setting up like VC firms here in the Middle East. I think that is one of the catalysts for startup growth here in the Middle East, and we are seeing that for the past 3 years. Definitely, a lot has changed.
And it's going to change a lot more, right? I mean, that's it's interesting because the conundrum that we have is that we have these talented people, intellectual capacities evenly spread, but opportunities are not everywhere, but sometimes, I don't know about you, Ruchi, but sometimes they're very stubborn. A lot of them are technical founders that think, I know the way, we build a great product and people will come. It's like build the field and they will come, and they don't, right? I remember when I took a course at Stanford, it was on storytelling. And one of the things we talked about is how eloquent you need to make your messaging so that people, it's so powerful, they can feel it in their souls.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's the they're like oftentimes, especially in deep tech, we have seen like the founder or the technical founder. They are people like scientists, and they treat their project like a science project. But they don't even think about commercializing the research that they have done, and it takes like years, more than 10 years oftentimes. And those kind of startups will like you never know where is the inflection point. Like if a company already took 10 years to get here, what would change? Like why would the valuation change later on? Like would there be like what would be the point that would make the company raise a higher valuation? So that's why like, we've seen a lot of these companies, the valuation is almost like the same, or they're even facing a little bit of down rounds as well, because they take so much time. It's almost like very slow companies to get to the next level. A lot of the founders are now realizing the need of.
Very good point, right?
Yeah.
And you got to like emphasize it. I try to tell folks worldwide, and you just reiterated now, is that time, the crocodile time, as Barry said in Peter Pan, is always coming after you. And with startups, if you don't move, you're dead. You know what I mean? You're not going to be around. It's not about going slow and thinking about it for 6 months or a year. It's about how can I move today? I mean, I'm sure when you were at Stanford University, it opened your eyes wide up to see how fast things move. It's a different speed.
Exactly. And especially in deep tech, and as you mentioned, the technical co-founders, a lot of them even rely on grants. And once you get this grant money, you keep looking for more grant money, and that's a very slow process. And it would like, oftentimes we have seen these startups that just rely on grant funding, and they treat the startup almost like a research project that just will go on for years. So I think that's maybe good for a few family offices who have a lot of patient capital, but in terms of like returns and venture capital, it's not a very attractive investment landscape.
Well, the other thing is, when I started to look at the venture funds, I started to look at, I've written, I guess, 400 articles now about this stuff, 407 or 8 or something like that. But one of the things, and I'm not a smart person like you, I'm just a poor country boy from Pennsylvania from a farm, so I don't know stuff you do. I didn't go to Stanford University, although I've spoken in the lead program there. I didn't go there. And, we didn't have enough money and I wasn't smart enough. I was just poor. Anyhow, one of the things that we look at, if we look at life, these companies need to understand you need really the 3 parameters: networking contacts, access to capital, and operational expertise. And, you can go to Harvard. In fact, we have Harvard MBAs, Stanford MBAs, MIT MBAs inside of GSD, but they're teaching people how to become managers, not how to be entrepreneurs. In fact, some of the pieces of being an entrepreneur, risk, it's just accepted. You got to take risk every day. That's part of rolling the dice. And if you're not into doing that, you're probably not going to be a good startup entrepreneur, because every day you're going to be faced with some craziness.
Yeah.
You got to rejoice in it, right? It's got to be, this is fun, not this is a negative thing. And the other thing is, when you do this, when we looked at the VC funds, the typical VC we saw was 24 to 33. They've never built a company, to only 10%. Yet they're telling you how to do it. They're using financial models to help you drive your behavior. It's crazy.
Yeah.
From our perspective, it's nuts. 9 out of 10 companies fail. Why? Because they don't have those 3 pillars, and you got people trying to tell you what to do that never did it.
Yeah. That's correct.
You've done an IPO on NASDAQ, which we've done. You don't know what it's like to ring the bell. Unless you've gone down through and raised hundreds of millions of dollars or had exits, you don't know what it likes and it feels like, and the negotiations and stuff to look for, and why you deal with the corporate development people first, why you go down through our partnership people, then corporate development, and then develop those relationships. They don't understand. The other thing is it's a very small community of people that talk all the time.
Yeah.
And they share.
I would agree. And I think it's like operational experience is like paramount in terms of learning how to do investing. I think it's really important to understand like how to build companies, how to like make exits, and how to learn from the mistakes overall, because only then you'll be able to even find out founders who would be able to understand your own wavelength, and then you'll be able to guide them, and founders would listen to people who have already done that themselves, not to people who have just money and they don't really know how to do the operations. I think portfolio support is
They don't know when they get into these early stage accelerators a lot of time, right? They talk about unicorns. They don't know what a unicorn is.
Yeah.
It's $1 billion value, and what? How do you get to that $1 billion valuation? It's not like all of a sudden you wake up one day, oh, it's $1 billion valuation. You need cheerleaders, don't you, Ruchi? You need people, high net worth individuals, family offices, pension funds, insurance companies that really cheer your cause, that care about you and love you and help you, because they're going to make money once your company grows.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. And it's a tough journey as an entrepreneur. You face a lot of troubles day in and day out, and you need the support system. And I think GSD is doing a wonderful job with that, because if you don't have that kind of support system, it almost becomes lonely at the top. Like you don't really have people. If you're a solo founder, or even if it's two founders, it's too much to do for a startup founder. Like there's fundraising, there's operations, and all both of these things are like big things on their own. So you need to be able to focus on both the things.
I have 160 companies in the portfolio. You can imagine the conversations we have every day. It's unbelievable in a good way, right? And sometimes a little change that they make to their company. So one of the companies inside of GSD raised over 20 million. This round they're going to raise $150 million. And the little tweak we did is we did some incredible generative AI that we added inside of the company, and we built some incredible things out. Now it changes. So for all of the companies out there, we talk about generative AI. Listen, this isn't something that's going to pass. This is something that's going to change your future. If you're going to move forward in your life, if you want your company to be successful, you better take a look at it, because it's going to change things, dynamically change everything.
Yeah, and every aspect of it, like even in healthcare, like healthcare was something that we never even used to think about AI and all, but now we've seen like things completely change. There's an entire scheme of tech bio startups that are doing wonderful works. A lot of like chat GPT based models, and like even in terms of the deep tech startups that I've seen, a lot of them are now combining various modules. So like there's an AI module, there's some data collection through wet labs, there's some data collection through just big data, and then overall just working on and trying to find different disease pathways. And I think it's an interesting place that we are working on right now.
Well, I had one of the companies at Cerebro, which is our company in Denmark, is going down through and look at images, and dramatically increases the efficiency and effectiveness of looking at images, and working with some of the largest companies in the world. But these, if we want to live to 150, which is what we're talking about today, we got to get down through, and we need to continuously understand what's happening with our body so we can course correct it all the time.
That's correct. That's correct. This entire theme of longevity, I think it saw a boom during startups, got filtered out, but there are some that are working immensely well at this. And then there's like new things like DeepMind, Google's DeepMind, that's helping in terms of understanding the various pathways for diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. And I think these are diseases for longevity, and it becomes incredibly important to understand like how can you like you can make a person live longer, but if he doesn't have the emotional capability or the mental capability to understand things, or if the person has dementia, like what's the point of even like extending the life? So what these companies are doing, that they're thinking about longevity, and we know for sure that longevity is a theme that will go on, and people will live for 150 years. But how do we take care of the mind? How do we take care of the
Well,
well-being
that's
of
it. I mean, we got to look at things like, you have myelin sheaths of the brain, and they start to get less dense, and you start to short circuit. How do we keep that up? And, we're coming through to that revolution now. We start to under genetics, right? Stem cells, all these things are starting to come together. But then again, how do we take all that data using generative AI to make sense of it for us, hyper personalized? Because, I just had a conversation with a doctor yesterday, a cardiologist from Yale. And, we talk about things like atorvastatin, and how do I know that 20 milligrams for you is good, right? But for me, I need 5. And we both are at the same levels of cholesterol, but we have a different requirement. And then what about the whole holistic view of us and all the medications and vitamins? I mean, we don't do that, and we don't do it on a daily basis, like tag it real time all the time. So imagine how you course correct your body. Things could change.
Yeah, I mean, dosage is a universal problem because there are not enough clinical trials to understand like various genotype and phenotype of people and how a medicine would react in one person compared to another. So I think personalized medicine and then overall this
Oh, say that again, Ruchi. Say that again. What
so
kind of medicine?
personalized medicine. I think that's a big
Hyper
thing.
personalized medicine, right?
Yeah, that's correct, and I think that's the future because the amount of money that the government the healthcare systems would save if the dose of the medicine is reduced for certain people, that's immense, right? And you're just creating side effects for people who don't really require that much of dose because it's really like there are a few diseases and a few pathways that have been there, but like to really understand how drugs interact within the body, drugs interact with each other. I think there's a huge scope for companies who rely a lot on big data and generative AI to understand what exactly needs to be done to make sure that the dosage is correct. In fact, I came across a company recently which works on pulmonary embolism, and the normal pathway of how to treat pulmonary embolism is just give like anticoagulants, and people don't really know like what's the dosage and all. And there are certain devices, and this company was building a device that has the sheath of the catheter has like fiber optic sensors, and it can sense in real time whether the blockage is reduced or not. So you don't need to give that much amount of dosage of anticoagulant. You can actually reduce the dosage of anticoagulant. And because anticoagulants itself have a lot of side effects, like those are blood thinners, so that can cause bleedings and hemorrhage in other parts of the body as well.
I talked when I was talking to the doctor from Yale yesterday. We're talking about aspiration, pulmonary aspiration, right? And the
Yeah,
issue with foreign bodies
yeah,
being inside and creating pneumonia,
yeah,
right? Killing. And
yeah,
so, this is like an incredible frontier that we're at, taking care of the medical infobesity, the infobesity that we have as doctors, right? You have so much data coming at you, and you're meeting with the patient. I don't know what it's like in the Middle East, but here, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're making a decision. Well, how in the world, you got, 100 patients a day or more. How in the world can you make the right decision? You're just inundated. You got, well, you look at the chart. Let's do this. But you're looking at stuff in the past, not what's happening today, right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly, and there's huge amount of data. Like there's normal day in and day out data that you get from the hospitals, and there are variable data that all of us have, like iPhone or wearable devices, and that cover a lot of data. But that data is not being used right now in a very effective way. I think this will change incredibly. The entire way how things work, how personalized medicine and hyper personalized medicine will work. I think that's a clear future.
Just a side note, it might be interesting for you. I wrote an article a couple of days ago, and just want to pass it by you because I respect your opinion. But I took B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning models. I combined them with Carl Rogers' client-centered therapy, and then I said, what if we go down through and tokenize goodness, right, on the planet Earth, so we can go down through and do whatever's right to be able to help each other, like we used to do. I think today a lot of us feel lonely because we have so much technology, but we don't have those real touching human experiences. So, and one of the other things, the reason I did that is because you live longer if you feel comfortable and you're not as stressed. So
Yeah.
the end result is you live longer, whatever that is, and you feel a whole lot better about life. You feel included. Anyhow, I just wanted to pass it by you because I put that together, and when I was writing it up, um, I started to think about this is what we need to do. There's some things on this planet we better start treating each other better.
Yeah. I mean, that personalized touch is paramount. One of the things that we saw during COVID was telemedicine. It peaked, and the reason that it dropped, there are many reasons for that. But one of the main reasons was that you don't get that personal touch when you're not seeing the doctor. When the doctor is not feeling your pulse or putting a stethoscope, you don't feel that you are being taken care of. So that was one of the reasons. Interestingly, another reason was that hospitals didn't make enough money because. If a patient visits a hospital, he'll buy something from the pharmacy, he'll maybe visit the cafeteria. There are a lot of things that work around when a patient does a hospital visit. There are people around with him. And I think that was one of the reasons that hospitals, like the stakeholders that are involved in the telemedicine thing, one of them is hospitals, and that's a big giant. And that's the reason that you saw a peak, but then it dropped, even though it's convenient for some users and all, but it saw a huge drop because of the personalized touch, and then the hospitals being a stakeholder as well.
No, you're right. I mean, we've lost some of that humanity, right? One of the things with technology that is done, because we can do things like Zoom, we've lost some touch. On the other side of it, we've enabled ourselves to talk to a lot of people around the world. It's not like if I wanted to meet with you, I have to fly to the Middle East to be able to meet with you and spend 2 weeks. Oh, let's take it together sometime. We'll go to a conference. I can do it on a daily basis, which I never could do before, right?
Yeah.
So the efficiencies and effectiveness that we have is just dramatically increased. But you're right about it. We've lost that touch, the touch, a human touch, the real human touch. So if you look at it, how eager are the families in the Middle East to invest in tech companies from places like the Valley or all over the world? How eager are they right now?
They are getting more and more eager. In fact, like a lot of family offices are now traveling to the Valley, and there like various family office events as well that keep on happening worldwide. And one of the key themes that we've seen is deep tech investments and technology investments, because people have realized, like, if there's something intrinsic in the startup, like it's not just about customer acquisition and like a software startup, because during COVID you saw a huge dip in these startups. So people have realized that if there are companies who have patents, who have some sort of intrinsic value, I mean, that stays, like, no matter if there's a recession or something, like that intrinsic value in the company is very important if you're making a long-term investment.
No, you're right. And so how important is AI now in terms of when you talk to these families, how much, on a 1 to 10 scale, how important is it for them to invest in AI companies?
I would say it will be like 8 or 9. That's the current theme in the family office space at the moment. Yeah, initially you saw it like during COVID, you saw ed tech, health tech, and all, but like now it's mainly about generative AI, using various models to gather data and do something good with the amount of that data that you have access to.
So if you look at it, we're coming up to the top of the show, Ruchi. So
Sure.
what words of wisdom do you have for those startups all over the world that want to get funded and want to go to those family offices? What words of wisdom do you have for them?
I think, Gary, as you mentioned, storytelling is a very, very important part of it. And the more passion you show for your startup, it really shows through. Like if you're doing an investor pitch and if you're a little bit scared or nervous, it doesn't help at all. If you don't show the passion about your startup when you're presenting to the investors, if you're not loud enough and clear enough and confident enough, even the investors won't have that much confidence in you. So I think, like you said correctly, that storytelling is a very, very important part.
No, you're right about it. And what's the best way for the companies that want to reach out to you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you or family offices?
For me, it's I'm available on LinkedIn. I think that's a good medium. And in terms of reaching out to family offices, I have seen more and more family offices getting active on LinkedIn. That's the main social media here in the Middle East. Not much people use other social medias here, but LinkedIn is something that's professional. And then apart from that, there are various conferences that people attend. But right now it's the peak of summer. There's nothing much happening in Dubai. I think in September onwards there'll be some conferences. And in terms of like healthcare startups, I think JPM is one of the biggest conferences in the Valley, and that's where you see like all the VCs, a lot of family offices from Middle East and worldwide come and visit JPM just to find the good healthcare investments, tech bio investments. Yeah.
No, that's great. Ruchi, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. So, Simplenight Presents is happy that you're here. GSD, obviously, and myself were great that you could take time out of your busy schedule. And to all of those viewers out there around the world, thank you for joining one more time. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. I'll end the broadcast and I'll come back on. Ruchi said we can stay around. That would be great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.